Hi, this is Matt Fradd, founder of theporneffect.com. I'm here today with Dr. Peter Kleponis, Father Sean Kilcawley, and Ryan Foley. There's much on our website that responds to the problem of pornography and gives people tools to end their pornography addiction and help their loved ones. But today we thought we'd spend just a few moments talking about how to address the problem before it even becomes a major problem. Okay, so Father, why don't we begin with you? You're the head of the Family Life Office in Nebraska. Why don't you share with us a little bit about how we can help our families thrive in a pornified culture?
Thanks, Matt. I think the most important thing that we do as a church is to develop the domestic church. And we do live in a pornified culture. We can't get away from it. Like, if you flip through the channels on television, you can see more and more and more and more and more. I remember when I was a kid, and it would get to be about 9 o'clock on a Monday night, and you'd hear this song, the Dallas theme song.
Okay.
And it was time to go to bed. Dallas is on, kids got to leave the room. Mm-hmm. And the worst thing that ever happened on Dallas was sort of a little flirtation, lights go off, and next morning JR wakes up in bed. Today, kids see on teen shows things that are much worse than that.
Yes.
And it's every parent's responsibility to guard the light of Christ in the hearts of their children. Like, when they're given the baptismal candle at their baptism, they say, "This candle is entrusted to you to be kept burning brightly," which means both nurturing it within the family and protecting it from that wind or the storm that blows in a pornified culture. And so I've been starting by really encouraging parents to monitor what their kids are doing online. And parents have to recognize that they're the image of God in the life of their child. That when their child makes a mistake, their child sort of has the same reaction as Adam and Eve did in the garden. After the fall, Adam and Eve hide themselves in the trees because they're shame. Sort of, okay, I'm not who God wanted to me, so I'm going to hide. But what does God do? God looks for them, and he finds them, and then he makes the promise to restore them. And this is really how parents teach their children, is by loving them as God loves them. And the most important lessons that children can learn about love are from the experience of their parents' love, not from their parents reading them a book about love or a book about chastity. And I think when parents do that, the child learns, okay, I sinned and there's forgiveness, and I'm not a defective person.
Yeah.
But rather I have dignity and I'm always loved no matter what I do. Mm-hmm. And when they learn that from their mom and dad, they'll learn the same thing is true about God. Mm-hmm. And I think Dr. Kleponis probably can comment on some more concrete ways or things he's seen in his practice.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to protecting families, I get a lot of questions like this from parents. And I divide kids up into two groups. The current average age of when a child first encounters hardcore internet pornography is 11. So what I tell parents is, for kids up to the age of 11, we need to protect them. They shouldn't see this. They shouldn't know that it exists. So what starts with things like limiting screen time, right? That's the TV screen, the computer screen, the iPod, the iPad, the tablet, everything. And any screen use needs to be supervised. Now, supervision means we have everything monitored. Everything has to have covenant eyes on it. But also, anytime a child is on the screen, whether it's television or on the computer, the internet, a parent or a guardian needs to be standing right behind them, making sure that wherever they go is safe. And they need to make sure that their child's friends, parents are also vigilant about protecting them.
Yes.
We need to really protect the innocent of these children. Now, after the age of 11, we need to prepare them to be able to go out into this pornified world and say no to pornography. Because they will encounter it. It will find them as young as middle school. So we have to teach them about the dangers of pornography, what it'll do to them, how it is addictive, how it will affect their lives, how it's not going to help them learn about healthy sexuality and intimacy and relationships. We need to teach them about these dangers and give them the tools, the resources to say no to it. Yeah. And that includes having everything monitored. So it's about educating them. It's not just about teaching them about the dangers of pornography, but we need to teach them what is healthy sexuality, what is healthy relationship, what is it all about. And of course our church has a wonderful view on this, God's plan for sexuality and relationships. So we need to teach them this so it all dovetails together.
Ryan, with Covenant Eyes, speak a little bit about the filtering and the accountability software, and maybe creating a culture of accountability in the home and how that would help.
Well, I think part of this preserving the family is preserving the parents in the family, right? So part of that is us using tools ourselves, right? Even in my own family, I use a tool like Covenant Eyes. Whatever I do online, I'm accountable. So every place that I use the internet, whether it's my my phone, my tablet, my laptop, a tool like Covenant Eyes is essentially rating every web page I view, right? So I have to think, even for myself, more critically about how I use the web. Not even just the sites I visit, but how long. Where am I spending my time, right? Because I could be spending my time, maybe not even viewing pornography, but just unhealthy uses of my time.
4 hours on ESPN.
Whatever it is, right? Yeah, and for a lot of men, that is it. It's just a superficial use of the time God's given us.
Yeah.
So the first I think is in the life of the parents, kind of the spouses protecting themselves. In my case, my wife is my accountability partner, and I also have a spiritual director who receives my report, which is really helpful for me. It isn't as if I have a problem, but I don't want to have a problem. And I think for any father or mother who is online, almost all of us are online every day, is we need that accountability. The internet is a dangerous place, and there are temptations there. For children, like Dr. Kleponis said, we need to be filtering our children.
Yes. Because speak a little bit about the two components of Covenant Eyes and how they can work in harmony together. You don't just need the accountability.
Yeah.
You can have both together.
Well, filtering is there, and we're all familiar with that. Filtering is kind of blocking the bad stuff. Yeah. But traditionally, filters never told me what was blocked.
That's right.
Right. So the accountability side of this is I get a report. It's not one of these like fire and forget tools, right? Like I'm just hoping it blocks things.
Yes.
Right. And that's where a lot of parents are today. I'm hoping my kids don't go there. I'm hoping the filter blocks it. But I want to know about my children's curiosity. So even though something may be blocked, let's just say they Google sex or whatever they've heard at school, right? We know our kids, as soon as they hear a term they've never heard of, they go and Google it. So that's a curiosity that I need to know. It's kind of like this being known.
Yes.
I need to know those things to see where the world is leading my child.
Yeah.
Even if it's healthy. So for me, this is something a parent told us, where they introduced Covenant Eyes long before they thought their child would ever be exposed. They wanted to introduce accountability, like mommy and daddy always know where you go. Like I'm here with you all the time. And even though you visit Disney.com today, like why not talk to them about that? Like, what did you learn today? How long were you on there today?
Because we always hold our children accountable when they're offline, don't we? Or we should do that. Where did you go? What movie did you see? Who were you with? So why is it any different online?
Yeah, and that really resonates with parents when I do workshops. I say, we expect a report card, right? We want to hold them accountable at school.
That's right.
We do when they come in from being out for 3 hours in the neighborhood. Who were you with? What were you doing? How were you spending your time?
Yeah.
For some reason today in our culture, there's this gap, like the internet seems like a place that we don't need to do that. Yet it's probably the most dangerous place they go.
And the place they're spending the most time in or on.
Today, you're right.
Is the internet.
And they have to realize this, when I recommend this to a lot of parents and teenagers, often the teenagers, they get upset, they say, oh, you don't trust me, and so forth. And I tell the teens, I say, no, it's not you that we don't trust. It's the pornographers that we don't trust. All right. The pornographers know that pornography is an addictive substance. It's a drug. And they're drug pushers. And their goal is to get as many young people addicted as possible, because if they can do that, they'll have customers for life.
And this is a multi-million-dollar industry. These aren't multi-billion, not silly people pushing nude photos to perverts in back alleys. I mean, they have a plan, they have a vested interest, don't they?
Exactly. It is out there. And so I tell them, it's not you we don't trust. It's the pornographers. They want to try every single way they can to get into your lives. And the number one thing they're going to use is technology, because they know that young people are always up on the latest technology. If a new gadget comes out, the teenagers and the young adults, they're going to want to have it. And obviously the pornographers are going to try to find some way to get into that, to get into their lives.
I think also another thing too is within the scope of this whole discussion is that it's not just pornography that is sort of interrupting these family bonds. It's just the internet, period.
Okay.
And because a lot of people will do things online that they don't want anybody to know about. And that's not healthy for relationships or for family life either. You know, I have brother priests who might be on ESPN.com for 5 hours a day, and they don't want their parishioners knowing that that's what they were doing.
I see.
Nor do they want anybody else knowing that.
Yeah.
And I can fall into this too. Like, I might on a day off, like, go on a Netflix binge.
Yeah.
And I'm not very proud of that.
Yeah.
But it's also, I have a friend who gets my report, and he knows that that's how I spent my time.
Yeah.
When I talk to young people who are struggling, one of the questions I say is, who knows you? Like, who knows you in the world, everything about you? And it's nobody. And loneliness is rooted in not being known.
Yeah.
And social media is starting to create a world where I'm going to let people know so much of me, but not everything. And I'm going to be very interested in knowing everything everybody else says, but I never really let anybody know me.
Yeah,
and so at the same time, you have connectedness and isolation, and that isolation is where the evil one thrives.
And it's interesting, you know, there are many, many new studies out about social media, and we're finding that it's anything but social. It's really isolation media.
Wow.
Because people get on, you have all these friends, and you're broadcasting your life through
You know what I had for
photos and
breakfast.
everything, yeah, all that stuff. But yet, people are more and more lonely, and this is what we're finding. You know, it's not surprising that more people today are struggling with depression and anxiety.
And pornography.
And pornography, right, because again, nobody knows them. And really, it's interesting because when we talk about pornography addiction or sexual addiction, many experts actually refer to it as an intimacy disorder. Because really, when you get down to the bottom of it, it's not about sex. It's about wanting that connection.
Okay.
To be connected, to know and be known. And that's what intimacy is. Intimacy is not sex. Intimacy is the emotional connection between two people. You have it between a husband and wife, a parent and a child, between two best friends. And with pornography, it's really the search for the intimacy, but obviously they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
They're not going to get it through that. So we need to help people realize what the true need is and find them healthy ways to meet that need.
Yeah. Well, just wrapping up today, we've been speaking about how we can prevent this problem of pornography before it becomes so out of control. Father, someone asked you, you know, how can I teach my children the theology of the body? And you responded how?
Well, the question was really how can we, is there a curriculum or something
That's
that we
right.
can do from a really young age? And I got the sense that they were asking me to teach their 5-year-old the theology of the body. And oftentimes at parent talks, the parents will say, Father, are you teaching our teens about these things? And my answer is the same. My answer is, this is how you teach theology of the body to your children. You love them. Like, you love them as God loves them. You pass on to them the love that you've received from God because you are a child of God.
Yes.
And if we did that, like, we learn love by experiencing love in our lives. You know, love isn't something we can learn from a book. And oftentimes that's our experience being chastity educators, is we
Yes.
stand up and we say, this is what real love is.
Yes.
And these kids are like, no.
Yeah.
Or love is a feeling. Love is a choice. It's not a feeling. And they're
Yes.
like, oh, it feels really good.
Yes.
So there must be a feeling dimension.
Yes.
But love is something that we learn in relationship, and most especially within the family. And the more that we can, like, build that up and make the space in our lives in order to live out the vocation to love that God has placed in our hearts, then we'll start to renew the family, which renews the church, which renews the world.
Okay, thank you so much, Ryan, Father Sean, Dr. Peter, thank you so much. To learn more, please visit us at integrityrestored.com.